according to themselves. So we need to modify, and we need to have this camera live view, which is to be tilted a bit so that it is not attached to the camera. It can be tilted and seen by various angles. Then comes the third. This is the mode dial. This mode dial has got an on and off switch. Can you see this? So once we turn it on, the camera whole system, this whole body turns on, not the lens, but the camera body turns on and turns off, so that we have something for the power switch. So we have on and off for the power switch, and we have a shutter release. Can you see the center of the button, center of the switch? This center allows us to click. So this is the shutter release. Once you press this shutter release, the shutter opens for some period of time, whatever you have set in the manual settings or in the auto or in the programmed auto modes. That modes will be fitted inside the mode dial. Can you see this circle? We have M, A, S, P, scene, auto. We have a flash system which has been stopped off. Then we have effects. So this particular camera is for the Nikon. Canon might have different dial system, but these parameters are there throughout all the DSLRs. I'll tell you what AM stands for. AM stands for manual mode, A for aperture priority mode, then we have S for shutter priority, and then we have programmed auto, and then we have scenic modes, which has been inbuilt given by the manufacturer inside, which different scenes are there. As for daylight, as for we have scenes for low lights. So these are inbuilt mechanisms inside the DSLR, so that you can set the scenes and whatever modes in the daylight, if you want to shoot, you can have that. We have auto mode. Auto mode is such a mode that no one should practice actually. This is for just for the beginners who don't know about DSLR, but auto mode for me is of very little importance, unless you are having something which has to be clicked as in fractions of second, then you can go for auto mode. But auto is like that camera decides. But in DSLR photography, dental photography, macro photography, you are supposed to be selecting your own modes. So my whole lecture will be in the few coming days. We will be discussing on the manual mode, how to utilize it. It's not so difficult, but it has to be practiced a lot, so that you get to know about different kinds of lights and different kinds of settings which are needed according to the light exposure. Then we have effects again given predetermined by the camera itself. So we are going to have all the things set up first before picturizing in the manual mode. Then we are going to carry out our photography in cases of dental photography or macro modes. So macro as well as dental photography are inbuilt with each other. Macro is the major term because dental photography just stands as a part of macro photography. That's why I keep my lectures to be as a dental macro art, because macro is the thing which is being taught first rather than going for dental art photography, because dental photography is just a part of that macro category. Next we have a shutter release that I have already told. We have exposure compensation. This is plus and minus sign. Exposure triangles we'll learn about in the next few coming days. Just today we are going to have different kinds of cameras, different kinds of recommended cameras by myself for macro photography, different kinds of lenses to be purchased by you. And then we can go ahead and discuss about different kinds of exposure triangles, how this exposure works, and how we have to set a proper exposure to get a good image. This image has to be perfect. If you don't have the exposure to be properly justified, then we have low exposures, then we have high exposures. We have different kinds of photographies also based on this, but we need to have a perfect image when we are going to take a macro photography or a dental art photography. So we are going to learn about these things. And then there is an red button here, which is a video start and stop button. There are many cameras with this, and there are many DSLR cameras without this. but majority 99% of them are having a video start and start off, which deals with us to have the scene to be started, and we will have a recording of the video to be done by this dial. So recordings, any kinds of recording in the form of SDA elements can be started, and again if you press this button, again it will be stopped. So we can start and stop by a video recording by this. So any DSLR again can be a fruitful part when you perform a videography. So this this is all about the top button, top view. Then we have stereo speakers here, which can record as well as they can give us back the output of the recorded video. Then this portion is called as the hot shoe. We will learn about this hot shoe because we need to have a flash system mounted over this, and then this is the lens which has been used. Now this lens is not the lens which is going to be a lens to be used during macro photography, but this is a basic kit lens which is already provided with the type of cameras which you buy as a DSLR. But we can definitely eliminate this if you don't want. If you don't want to just practice macro photography, then you are not supposed to take this. You can buy a separate body, and you can buy a good macro lens, which we are going to discuss next. Then the front view of it, not from that front, but from our front, from the picture person who is going to take. This is the menu button. Again, this menu will give us a live view of the menu, which is going to be just looking like this. This is the menu which is being shown inside, and we can just modify all kinds of parameters. I will go in depth. Then we have something called as an info button here, and this is the diopter adjustment. Diopter is about the lens and its categorization inside the camera itself, so need not to go about in details of this for dental art photography. Then we have information about every type of thing whichever we are going to go inside the menu, we can get an info about it. It will tell you about different kinds of factors. So, suppose if I want to know about what is P, and then if you press an info button, we'll get to know the knowledge about the P. Then we have an image playback button. This image playback button will give you the playback of the previously clicked image, so that you can just see whether the image has been taken properly or not. And then if you want some rectification, again you need to click it again. Then this is again an I button. I button is again the information activity inside the live screen. Then we have OK to press what kind of selection you have done inside. This whole dial moves in a circular fashion, and then we can select whatever criteria in the form of like this. If I press the circle, I can go from P to normal to the large view of the large file size. Then we can go to auto, we can go to flash system settings, ISO settings, everything. So these settings will be taught in the next few coming days, but just to need to know about the overview of the DSLR. This is the multiple selector, and then we can press the OK button. Then again that particular selection will be clicked. Then we have magnification and demagnification button here. Plus sign denotes for magnification. We can magnify the image and see in the live screen, and then we can demagnify it by pressing of the negative button. Then we can have a delete button also is there. These three factors are for the image which has been clicked previously. Once we press this image playback button, you will get your previous image. Then you can magnify it, demagnify it, then you can delete it also. So everything is there inside the whole system of the camera of the DSLR. So that looking after these screens, you will just see how so many of buttons. It is very difficult for us to learn, but it is very simple for the new age people. So that the magnification, demagnification, delete is all simple, just like your mobile phones. So you can delete your images just like that. You can magnify and demagnify the images. This is about the side view of the button. We have something called as the flash pop-off. Can you see this? This is the hot. This was the hot shoe. And then this whole segment is the pop-up flash, which is being integrated inside the DSLR. Just you need to click this, it will pop up, and you will get a inside inbuilt flash system of the camera. But I suggest not to utilize this because of the color, and the color temperature inside this is a bit difficult for us to diffuse and to get a proper white light for a macro art photography. So I don't recommend this to be used. Then we have functionality button. Functionality button is not for us, because for a dental photographer as well as for macro photographers, very rare use of functionality button. I'll just tell you about the zoom rings and the focus rings. Can you see this? This is the zoom ring of the camera. Just you need to zoom it or zoom out. So it starts from 18 millimeters here to 55 millimeters. This is the focal length of the camera, of the lens, and from 18 to 55 you can just zoom it and zoom out. But this focus ring will just do the fine adjustments for you, just like in a microscope. You just see the gross anatomy and then we need to fine tune it so that you can get a very good image. Then this is the retraction button. Before starting off your camera with the lens, you need to press it and then you can just zoom and zoom out. Then we have a release button. Release button is for those to release this lens from the body. Just press it and this lens will be taken out. So DSLR has got a very good function which tells us about, you can arrange different kinds of lenses along with the body. So body can be one, you can buy different lenses, different telephoto lenses. Now this is a kit lens, this is a prime kit lens upon 18 to 55, which can just click you a good day-to-day photography, but not for a particular purpose of using it for macro photography. I'll tell you about different kinds of lenses of macro photography. Then now this screen which I had told, once we go into the live screen of the camera, we have this screen in front of us. Now you just go through it. Now this P was same P which was there inside the mode dial buttons. You can just see this. Can you see this mode dial button? We have this P. Now this P is called as the programmed auto. So now I've shared you the screen where it tells us about the programmed auto mode. Programmed auto mode, the camera itself decides whether what kind of auto mode you need. You can just fill in some parts of the ISO adjustment, but you cannot change anything else. The camera itself, you just let the camera to decide itself that this is the parameters, and then you can have a click. But the problem is with dental photography is that we need this aperture to be at a very small level, so we need to utilize this mode only. Manual. Programmed auto, the camera decides the light, the camera decides which kind of shutter has to be there, which kind of fraction of a second has to be there. So exposure can be different, but the programmed auto will give you a perfect exposure. But the problem is we need to have a manual mode set by us, so that we need to change the f-stop number, we need to change the kind of shutter speed, we need to change the ISO sensitivity of the camera, means we need to change the time for which the shutter opens, we need to change the shutter space through which the light enters, and we need to change the sensitivity of the light of the camera. Means how much sensitive, means if it is now 100, so it is less sensitive. If it goes to 25600, it is more sensitive to light, means it is for the low light photography. These kinds of aperture, this kind of ISO settings is for the low light apertures. F-stop, if it is at a lower level, means if it is F is 1, then we can go ahead for such things where the aperture is open at a very wide angle. So we don't need it. What does this f-stop do? F-stop does is that once we have f-stop to be at a lower level, we will have something called as a blur at the background. But if we have f-stop to be at a larger number, then we have everything inside the background also incorporated inside your photo. This is what the macro photographers play with. See, if you want something called as a good macro art, I'll just give you some pictures of mine. I will tell you. See, can you see this? These are all macro photographs where I have just, this is a housefly. See how details are given inside a housefly eye. This is an eye of an housefly. You can see the details here. So I needed the details of this. So my f-stop number was supposed to be at a higher level, and I just had a black background. black background can be brought just inside the camera. You need not to do anything with your black something called as black paper behind or nothing like that. So now you can see the here in this photograph we have something called as blur behind, but there is a very sharp image of this butterfly which is in the front. So what I have used is a f-stop to be having a smaller number, just like 7, 8 or 9, which in this case is something at a higher level of f22, f32, like that. So we need to incorporate. Now see, and here in this picture we have details of every kind of dandelion. This is a dandelion which is there and which we can see just like it flows inside in the air. This is the dandelion. The light system is playing the major important role here, but we can see the details of each and every line here of the dandelion. So we need to have an f-stop number of an higher number so that I can get every details here, rather than going f-stop number at a smaller levels, because I needed a blur background behind. So this is what your f-stop number will give, and this is p number. Sorry, this is the shutter speed. Shutter speed tells us about how many fractions of seconds this shutter will be remaining open. See, if you have a shutter speed at a suppose if it is of 1 second, so it will capture more amount of light. So 1 second will be kept at such an instance where the light is very small and we need to capture the light for a longer duration of time. Same, if I keep it at a fraction of second of 1 by 125 of a second, then it will start and shut in this time period only. So it is very small time. So we have to set these things so that this and this matches to give a very perfect exposure triangle. Now this is called as an exposure triangle. So we will talk about this in the next tomorrow, I guess so. I'll tell you about the flash systems tomorrow and the types of exposure which we are going to take. Now, the camera comes into two types. Now, nowadays, many people are talking about full frame camera systems and what about crop sensor. So I'll tell you just a brief. There are two types, majority. There are many types, but there are two types in DSLRs, and there is one type called as a semi DSLR, or some companies called it as a point and shoot camera. Now in DSLR, I'm just going to speak about DSLR cameras, and on the third day I'll talk about mobiles. But in this DSLR we have crop sensors and full frame sensors. Difference is, can you see this green? This block is for the crop sensor and this block is for the full frame sensor. Now can you see these two images? Same place, same timing, same things, but in a crop sensor you'll have a cropped version of the same thing, which means if you have a crop sensor, there is a magnification ratio associated with it. Magnification ratio of 1.5x means, if I am having a crop sensor, then in that crop sensor my image will be the same which I am going to click, but I will have a very small view of what I am taking, because already there is a magnification inside. But if I give for a full frame sensing camera, I will have the whole image, and there will be no magnification of the image. So I have a good sense of what is here and what is on the right side also. Whatever I am seeing through the eyepiece, I will be clicking here. But here there is definitely association of a magnification ratio. So in dental photography or macro photography, which one to buy? I'll tell both you can buy, not an issue. But it is depending on your budget. I'll just tell you what kind of recommendations I am giving you for Nikon and Canon, because see, I am a Nikon user since many years now. But for me, Nikon is easy to know, and it even goes for Canon. I have used Canon also. Nowadays, Sony is also there for wildlife photography. I'll recommend that. But for macros, you can go for crop sensors as well as full frame sensors. There are mirrorless cameras also now in Sony, Nikon and Canon. So we can go for that. But again, what is the purpose of you to buy this camera? You should know first. Because see, if I am a macro photographer, I will just carry out macro photography. For me, even a crop sensor is good. It is since so many years and so many years of practice, I know that even a crop sensor will give you a good image. It's not about what your camera body is. It is about what you look through the camera and what kind of lights are there. Tomorrow we are going to talk about lights. See, lights for me is one of the most important things when we go ahead for a macro photography. So crop sensors and full frame sensors, anything you can buy. I have recommendations for Nikon. I have recommendations for Canon. So for Nikon, we have D750. See, this whatever things I am telling is from my personal experience. This is the thing which has to be bought as a startup for anyone who wants to go ahead for dental photography or macro photography. I am telling you because there are cheaper cameras than this. My first camera was Nikon D3300. Even that camera is with me still, and it gives you very beautiful images. It's not like that you cannot, but you need to start off with something which is called as recommendation. This is my own recommendation, where Nikon D750. Now this is a full frame camera and this is a crop sensor camera. 7200 for a basic person who can start off with this. It is very good to buy a Nikon D7 to 7000 series, anything from 7000 series, because we need to have something called as Wi-Fi inside it. We need to have something called as transfer of images from this to another device to show to the images to the patient itself, for the self adjustment also inside over a long screen or a big screen, so that the patient also gets known about what kind of treatment is going on for me, as well as for us to know what kind of mistakes or what kind of rectifications are needed. See, because macro, as well as in dental photography, when we talk about macro, it is like very minute details of the image of the particular thing. See, now this is a tooth and these are the lips. So when you see the detailing which is happening inside the images, and you can see each and every structure which has been there inside the tooth. So we need to work, and we need to when we click these images through macro photography or macro lens, we will come to know about our mistakes. We can rectify it there and there only. So we are going to have this for our benefit only, and also for the patient education. So my recommendation is D750 for a Nikon full frame, and D72 or any type of 7000 series in Nikon for a crop sensor camera. For Nikon Canon recommendations, see, I am very much aware that many Canon cameras have come. 5D series for Mark Canon as full frame, and for 80D start off with 80D, and minimum for us to start off with a dental art photography. Now this is a full frame camera, and again it comes with a crop sensor. Now the second portion of what we are going to be learning today is about the lenses. Now my recommendation, just I will tell you my recommendations. These are various types of companies are manufacturing different kinds of lenses in macro. Now these are all macro. Why they are called as macro? Because there is the reproduction of the image as it is in the same format. It will be reproduced on your camera. Means it is a ratio of 1:1. 1:1 means if the image is of size of 15 millimeters, then again that has to be reproduced in the same manner. So we have to use macro lenses whenever we are going for any kind of macro photography as well as for dental photography. So lenses which are recommended, I'll go from 1, 2, 3, 4. See, lenses are recommended. So I'm a Nikon user. I have kept it on number 2. This is just because there are third-party lenses in the form of Tamron 90 millimeters and Tokina 100 millimeters. These two lenses are very beautiful lenses, very good images. I have used all the three. I have not gone for Sigma, but I have used all these three. There are some good things, some bad things about different kinds of lenses, but my recommendation is Tokina 100 millimeters for any kind of person who is pursuing dental photography. If you want something which is very sturdy, go for Tamron 90 millimeters. Now there are two variants inside it. One is called as with stabilization, one is without stabilization. We are supposed to buy a non-IS, or which is having no stabilization associated. Not an issue, because the cost ranges are very much drastically changing when you buy an implant, the stabilized lens, or we don't buy we buy a non-stabilized lens. So in both the cases, I will recommend you to go for non-stabilized lenses, which are cheaper in amount to start off with. See, it's about recording the cases. It's about doing macro photography. You have to learn, and you have to inculcate different kinds of things inside you, because it's not a journey of one day. Just you can buy all the lenses and you'll be a good photographer. It's not like that. You have to learn from different people. You have to learn your and share your experiences with other. This is my journey since I guess so 10 years now. I have been with Tamron, I have been with Tokina, I have used Nikon also. But my personal thing is a Tokina or a Tamron. See, again, I will tell about why. Because Tokina was used basically for dental photography. It's not a sturdy lens. It's not so very sturdy as compared to a Tamron or a Nikon. But Tamron is very sturdy in the sense because once you go to outside to click, in outdoor photography of macro, we need something called as very sturdy lens so that it doesn't whenever you go and hit something, it should not damage the lens itself. So we need to have something which is sturdy. Nikon and Tamron both are very sturdy lenses. Tokina I will not recommend for those who are going for outside for macro photography. Can be used very good lens for dental photography, very sharp lens, very good lens for indoor photography, wherever you're carrying out portraits, wherever you're carrying out any kind of tabletop photography, any type of macro photography. In all those sense we can utilize this. Now why I am talking about 90, 100, 105, it is just because of the patient distance, and we need to maintain this because this lens about 80 to 120 is the range where you are at a very comfortable distance from away from the patient, so that if you are away from the patient, you just cannot take the whole lens inside the oral cavity or near to the oral cavity. Will not be, patient will not be happy with this. You need to have a safest distance and a good distance away from the oral cavity so that you can click also and you can have good distance away from the patient. So for this range, range was checked and was validated as 80 to 120. In between that lens, I have given these 4 categories. Even you can go for Sigma. Sigma is not a good bad company. It is a very good company. You can go for Sigma also. But the problem is with the sturdy nature of these things. Now, one disadvantage of Tamron is that once you can see this was the same focus ring. This is the focus ring. We can just open it to zoom in and zoom out. Now, once you open it, this whole structure again comes out. So you have a very lens which is coming outside of the lens itself. So it becomes like a very big lens. So we for those who are having issue of the space, can go for Nikon 105 for as well as for indoor as well as for outdoors. Then we have teleconverters, macro bellows, and extension tubes. Now these are again accessories. I will not recommend because of this. I'll tell you what does the function of converter is. Teleconverter or this teleconverter, what it does, it is a 2x now. So what it does is converts your 100 mm or a 100x zoom to a 200x zoom. But the problem is the sharpness and this what we call it as the details of the particular image are lost when you use a teleconverter. Macro bellows are very good for us. Macro bellows are just like you just place your camera body here. This whole structure acts as like a whole lens, so it will increase. Why you need this increase in length of your lens is because as you go nearer to the subject, you have more details about it. But these are utilized just when you practice this kind of photograph. I will give you a photograph here. Can you see this? This is the details of an housefly. Housefly is very small in size, but we need to have something called as macro stacking. So we use a macro bellows. Now this is again on a stand. It can be done indoor only. Not we cannot carry out this. It is very difficult for us to carry all the bellows with us. Extension tubes are very good. Extension, which is again giving you an extension from the camera body to the object. So we can utilize, if you don't have that much budget to buy a macro lens, you can utilize this and you can attach your normal kit lens associated with which is already been given by the camera itself. Now third portion, which is in the part of a flash system. I'll going to deal in details about how this work, but I'll need to tell you about different kinds of flash system which I recommend first. So for daily use for any type of photography, we need something called as light to be spreading to the all corners of the oral cavity or inside macro photography to the subject. Now we need to have light system at the most, it is the one of the most important thing, and your light system should be so perfect that your image cannot falter when you just have to just manipulate with your settings. These settings for dental photography is fixed, and for macro photography outside outdoors need to just modify a bit here and there, but it is depending on the light. But your light system, if you add, now this, can you see this image? This was the hot shoe which I told. Now this light system is mounted on the hot shoe, and this light in the form of rings, can you see these rings? These are mounted in front of the lens. Now this is in the form of circle, so it is called as a ring flash system. Ring flash system gives circular lights passes through in one particular dimension ahead, doesn't spread here and there. But in cases where we have twin flash system, can you see this flash, one side flash here, one side? Now we have Nikon associated, I'll tell you first about the names. Yongnuo was the company which is manufacturing both ring flash as well as twin flash. Sigma is there, Canon is there, Nikon is there. Nikon has got R1C1 capability. R1C1 is the name of the flash system. Now this flash system is the form of twin flash system. Then nowadays Godox has come with multiple flashes. We can either buy one, we can buy two, we can buy three, we can buy four, we can still fix eight of them inside. Now can you see this circular flash? Why this is needed? Because we need to have these images to be filled with light. The light is important, because if you go with good lights, then the details are very good. So macro photography is just about all kinds of details which are there. Now again, Nikon has got two flash system. This is the same flash system here. What in this is that they have attached an arm, this is called as a scorpion arm, and along with this we have something called as diffusers. What does this diffuser do is that it gives you a uniform kind of light spread, uniform and very subtle light, which tells that the light will spread evenly over the subject and it is not harsh. If it is harsh, then again the details will be lost. So for us it should be very smooth light. It should be from a twin flash system. Now differences are there when you go ahead with the anterior segment of your oral cavity and in the posterior. I recommend for the posteriors to be used, we can go for a ring flash system. Light falls in the posteriors very good when we use a ring flash system. But when we use a twin flash system or this kind of Godox flash, where there are multiple things, we can easily have a good image in the anterior section. We need to show the line angles, we need to show the composite work to the patient. So in such cases, now see, you need to start recording first. Cases has to be started, whether you go for twin flash system, whether you go for a ring flash system. My main purpose when I teach dental art photography or dental recordings to the patient, it has to be please start with recording of your cases, so that it is good for you also, for the patient, for medical legal purposes, for publishing inside various articles. You can just have good images so that they are good accepted worldwide. Now recommended twin flash system for Canon has got a good old system, and you have Yongnuo also, which is adapted to Canon cameras. And we have a twin flash system which is specially made for Nikon in the form of Mike. So the Mike Indian variant is available online. You can buy this. Even Yongnuo is there. Canon twin flash is available. Nikon twin flash is available. Godox flashes are available. This comes around in the range. See, Nikon R1C1 is very costly. It comes at a very high cost, around I guess so 50 or 60,000 rupees. But you can go for Godox flashes. You can go for Yongnuo around 15 to 20,000, 25,000 range. Canon is also very cheap. Even Mike is around 25,000 rupees. So you can go for this twin flash system whenever you are planning for daily purpose, daily use. So I will just suggest, please go and buy ring flashes. Ring flashes are cheap and they are even good whenever you are recording your cases. For anterior also it is good. It's not like that it's not going to record, because you are going to click it and so your image is going to come definitely. But I'll tell you, ring flashes are for daily use. You can use this cheaper variant. Please start recording. this is the most important aim of my every lecture. Whenever I take my lectures, please, I tell people or the dentist to start off recording their cases. Even for medical people, they can start off recording. Their images should be very good, so that even for publication, even for showing it to the person, what kind of changes are there inside your oral cavity, what kind of changes are there, which the treatment is going to cause inside your oral cavity, has to be shown with this. Even for medical legal purposes, we should have a documentation of the patients which is being treated. Now we should definitely have an eye. This eye is just a part of macro photography which is being carried out daily purpose. We can get beautiful images, we can capture the whole world around us, minute details about. Nowadays I'm calculating for, I'm performing a crystal art photography, which is again a in-depth view of different kinds of crystals, how they form inside the microscope. And I've got n numbers of crystals is with me nowadays. Even it's a part of macro photography. So it is just upon yourself that how you want to go ahead with these things. This is a picture of a bubble. This is a soap bubble, which is just like what you get to see daily. But see the integrate details of what kind of photography can do. So we can capture different kinds of images, we can incorporate different kinds of lenses, we can incorporate different types of camera systems inside. For dental photography, I have given the recommendations. Even for those who are going to start off with macro photography, please at least buy those recommended cameras and lenses which I had told this time, so that you can go outdoors and you can just start off with the journey of macro photography. So here I stop my today's lecture. So I guess I'm open up for different kinds of questions, queries from the participants, if there are. Otherwise, we will be meeting with you tomorrow for the flash system as well as for the exposure triangle to be discussed in details. Thank you. Hello.
Yes.
If there are any queries, please let me know, or else we'll meet tomorrow at the same time.
Thank you so much for very informative and
There
demonstrative
is one
session.
chat question, I guess so. Any wireless ring flash system? I guess so. Wireless ring flash systems are yet to be coming in the Indian market. Pankaj, Mr. Pankaj has asked this. We have wireless systems for Nikon R1C1 twin flash systems. Definitely, R1C1 is a wireless system only. You can buy that. Very good for us to have macro photography.
If anyone has any question.
Yeah, I've already answered them. Mr. Pankaj, I've already answered him.
I think no one has any questions, sir.
Okay, fine.
So, thank you so much, all the participants, for your active participation. Let me inform to all that this complete session will available on our Research Circle YouTube channel. So if you want to watch it again or want to share it somebody, please do visit this Research Circle YouTube channel. And last but not the least, thank you, Dr. Hiroj Bagde, sir, for taking our time for this session. Let me inform to all that tomorrow is the second day of our workshop, which is titled as a Lights and Lightning System on a 3 p.m. So tomorrow we will meet you same time, sir. With your permission, sir, I would like to today's session here.
Yeah, you can please. Thank you very much, Shreya. We'll be meeting you tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Same.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.